And so for this week, I don't necessarily have a news story, but instead, it's actually a really interesting article that I stumbled upon. And it actually grabbed a lot of attention. And this is just a small element in animation that so far it has grown bigger and bigger to the point that it almost seems like a problem per se now. Like it's starting to be to the point where this little piece is starting to really overstay its welcome. And there are some animated films, however, that they just took it a little bit too far per se. And I'm talking about an article on avclub.com by Jesse Hassenger that's called "Why Are Animated Dance Party Endings So Goddamn Annoying?" And if you guys don't know what I am talking about, allow me to just summarize the whole history of what this dance party ending is all about. Now, the thing is that normally when the movie would wrap up, at the end of the film, it's pretty common that we would see characters, or animated characters per se, that they would just do a little dance and sing a song at the same time. Now, it's not just in animated films. Like, normally they would do just quick little things. Like, for example, at the end of The Jungle Book, when you see Baloo and Bagheera just dancing off to Bare Necessities. Or even something that's a little bit more romantic, like with Sleeping Beauty or Beauty and the Beast, where Aurora and Philip or Belle and the Beast, they would both dance together and making it a little signal that they would live happily ever after. So they would do just small stuff like that, or even just something to wrap up the whole movie. You know, like musicals are very guilty of doing this a lot. Like, for example, Grease actually had a bit of a dance party ending. And then you also have Return of the Jedi. That's actually a very popular example of a dance party ending. So it is actually very common. But then came Shrek. And they decided to take it to a whole new level. Now, if you guys may remember, back in 2001, Shrek was the biggest animated feature of its time. Like, this was really the movie that broke the mold, that pretty much signaled the very end of the Disney Renaissance, that people are no longer as enchanted about it as much as they were back in the early 90s with movies like Aladdin or Beauty and the Beast or The Little Mermaid or The Lion King and stuff like that. Now they are entering upon a brand new age with the help of Shrek, and that actually signaled a brand new way of just making movies in general. This is the one that really launched the new trend of making computer animated films and tried to make them a little bit more snarky than they used to be. And on top of that, they decided to end it off with a dance party ending. And this would be the one that would launch the ways that dance party endings would pretty much be. So, dance party endings nowadays, they would go into 3 different categories, or at least the use of songs that they would do. The first one is actually modern covers of classic songs. And by that, a great example is actually with Shrek, where they would actually use a Smash Mouth cover of I'm a Believer. And then there would be another one that they would do with a good example. What's the number 2 that I'm trying to think of? Oh, yes. Just the popular song itself. They don't use a remix. They just want to use a popular song. A great example of that is actually the 2010 DreamWorks movie Megamind, when they would actually do I'm Bad. So they would just go and cap it all off by dancing to I'm Bad by Michael Jackson. And then the third one is an original song. Now, these are not necessarily from musical animated features per se. They're mostly using a song that they want to promote, that they want to connect to this movie in particular. And they in a way, they really want to try to promote it by doing the dance party ending. And the best example is actually just recently with DreamWorks Trolls, where they would do Can't Stop the Feeling, which is the movie that Justin Timberlake made for this movie in particular. So it's kind of a way to really promote that song and to really make it prominent in this movie. So that way, when people would think about something like Can't Stop the Feeling, they would think about the Trolls movie, basically. But then the thing is, though, is that after Shrek, we are seeing more and more and more and more animated films doing it. Like, it really started to pile up. Like, we're seeing, like, DreamWorks actually is the most guilty of doing this. Like, they would actually go ahead and do so with many of their feature films. It's not just Shrek. I already listed like films like Megamind and Trolls, and then it would also accumulate with other films like the Madagascar movies, and to a certain extent, even Kung Fu Panda would actually do it. Like I remember like Kung Fu Panda 3 actually did so with a foreign version of Everybody Loves Kung Fu Fighting. That I know. And on top of that, it's not just DreamWorks doing it, but there are other companies that do that as well. Blue Sky would actually do it with some of the Ice Age films. Like I remember Collision Course actually just did that not too long ago. So some of the Ice Age films would do it. The Despicable Me films are definitely guilty of doing that, and so are the Hotel Transylvania films, and even the Secret Life of Pets just recently do it. But what's actually very interesting in this article that Jesse Hassenger wrote, it's not just about discussing about like dance party endings, but it's also a little bit of a slam because you could tell that this guy actually hates DreamWorks Trolls, but he especially hates Sing. Yeah, like the recent Illumination film, yeah, like you could tell this guy really hates that because his argument is that those two feature films are basically just nothing but a feature-length version of those dance party endings. Like, those movies are nothing but just like an hour and a half long version of a dance party ending, which I do understand a little bit with Trolls because the songs don't really make sense. They don't add into anything, like they don't add much into the movie itself. But with Sing, I kind of disagree with it, honestly. Like, they actually don't even do the dance party ending. Like, what they actually do instead is that, like, with many of the pop songs that they actually do have a connection to the story. Like, there is actually a point to it. But what is actually very interesting to note is that he also lists a few films that not even I would think of, but I don't necessarily count them. Like, honestly, for me, this is a way that is a little bit acceptable to do an ending dance. Now, Jesse actually put in a couple of examples that's actually quite interesting, which includes Disney's Chicken Little and Zootopia. And in a way, yes, it is true that they are definitely guilty of doing that dance party ending. However, what makes it a bit okay is that they also play the credits at the same time. You know, like whenever we see the characters dancing, you see like on the side, like when we see the end of Zootopia, when they got tickets to go to the Gazelle concert, we see like on the side, like we just see some of the characters dancing, and we see like, oh, Chief Bogo is played by Idris Elba, and then you see, oh, Judy is played by Jennifer Goodwin, oh, Nick is played by Jason Bateman, and all that kind of stuff. You know, like it serves a little bit of a purpose where it's not just a dance party ending, but it's simultaneously like showing you like a bit of a creative way to show you a bit of the credits. So it's a little bit like that. It has a bit of a point where like the main credits that they want to present, like who are the actors, who are the directors, and who are the important people who contributed to the movies, like they want to do a little bit more of a creative thing. So it's understandable why they would do something like in Zootopia or even Chicken Little in a sense. And I'm telling you, I do understand why it is a bit annoying to see those dance party endings. And I try to think a little bit of why is it technically that these dance party endings are so annoying, and why is it that they have overstayed their welcome nowadays? And there are mostly two factors that I can really think of. The reason number one why it's so annoying is because most of the time they really contribute to nothing to the feature film. Like, honestly, there's no point in having those dance party endings. Like, you can legit take them away and the movie would never change. Because the thing is that the movie's already done, and like now they're just really extending it with this dance party ending. Because that's kind of the whole thing, is that really it's just filler. They don't really contribute to much. It just gives animators a lot more work, and really, like, it doesn't serve a purpose. And I mean, it's really annoying whenever it's a movie that is not necessarily good per se. Like something like the recent Ice Age sequels, or even the Hotel Transylvania films, when they would do like those dance party endings, like, oh, everything is done. Okay, like normally you see that the movie is over and you're just ready to go home because you just want to get away from like having more of a bad taste from a bad movie per se. But no, they got to extend it further to see like animated, like to see all these characters just dancing around and having fun. You know, just doing stuff like that, you know, it like, for any, if anything, it's just padding, and it just makes the movie a lot more longer than it probably should. And the second reason why I think like a lot of people claim that they are annoying is because, like, yes, nowadays it's really repetitive, but it's also because it's tradition. Like, many of the movies that you can think of, like the prime examples, they are a part of not just one movie, but a part of a franchise. Like, we see them do it over and over is because it's tradition. Because the first movie ended off that way, they want to end it up, like the sequels want to end it off that way too. That's why we're seeing, like with the Shrek movies, they would do the dance party ending over and over and over. And then you would also see something like Despicable Me. Like, they would do it over and over because it's tradition. And then you would see Hotel Transylvania. They would do it over and over because it's tradition. Like, everything about it is tradition. So whenever, like, a movie would end up being really popular and would end up having sequels, they want to stay true and, like, have a bit of the spirit of the original feature film. So most of the time, they want to do something like, you know, they want to do something that seems similar, something like people would expect from it. So that's why they would do a dance party ending. It's because it's tradition. And that's why most of the people who are guilty for it, like a lot of them, you'll find they are actually sequels. So that's mostly why, like, like a lot of people would find it repetitive, is because a lot of the same characters are actually dancing as well. But what is actually very interesting is that Jesse Hassenger actually brought up a really good argument on his piece why they are actually annoying, and it actually has to do with the fact that it's animation. Because here's the thing, with animated films, you could pretty much make the characters do whatever you want. Like the limit in animation, it's pretty much a lot less. Like, you can do more with animation than you can with live action. That's basically the whole idea that Jesse is trying to say. So that's why, like, whenever you would see a movie that would specialize where you see like these amazing dance numbers, like for example, like if you go and watch La La Land, you would be completely enchanted by the choreography that's in there. Or when you would see like a big musical that's based on a Broadway show like Hairspray or Producers or Chicago or something like that, like you would be completely dazzled by the dance numbers because it's live action. Like, these are legit people actually doing the steps and stuff like that. But in animation, that enchantment, that dazzle, it's no longer really there, because technically there is no limitations in animation. Like, the characters are not limited to what they can do with the body. They can basically go and do whatever they want per se. So it's not really as amazing to see animated characters dance than it is to see live action people dancing, you know? Like there is a massive difference, and that is actually a very, very good argument, I must say. But yeah, honestly, overall, like I do understand how this like honestly, I'm gonna call it for what it is. It's basically a cliche that really did overstay its welcome. Like it started out fine, like when Shrek was released, like it was doing brand new things, and nobody really saw this in animated features before, where they would end it off in this special like modern style dance party. But nowadays, when people are watching it, it just adds in as like a poor excuse to really modernize an animated feature. Like that's one of the biggest problems that many animated films are having nowadays. It's mostly the factor of how like a lot of them are trying to be hip, they're trying to be cool, they're trying to be more relatable to young kids. Like they want to try to say something and really try to shove down their throats, trying to say stuff like Ice Age is cool or Hotel Transylvania is cool, you know, stuff like that. Like they really want to try to shove it down audiences' throats. And with that dance party ending, when they would try to include like this new pop song or whatever, like that's another factor where it feels like they want to try to relate to modern audiences and try to be perceived as cool and hip. That's why it feels like they really have overstayed its welcome. That's why it's not necessarily as effective per se. And like I said, that's why it like nowadays a lot of the people that are doing it are just sequels. So chances are like the animated films that could be doing it in the future, like we'll see like maybe Nut Job 2 or Despicable Me 3 or Hotel Transylvania 3 or even The Secret Life of Pets 2 are going to be doing the same thing. They did it last time, but now they're doing it now. And even at that, like the argument that I put in that it is more acceptable that they would do it during the credits and stuff like that, sometimes it doesn't work. Like I just realized that right now, like sometimes they would do the ending dance during the credits. Sometimes it's not necessarily good, and they would be perceived as desperately trying to be hip. And the Nut Job is the biggest one that's actually guilty of that. Like, I just remembered, like, when during the credits, when they were trying to play Gangnam Style, like, not too long after that, the song itself, like, really passed its prime and stuff like that. It does feel more like a desperate attempt to be hip with the cool kids rather than to, you know, simultaneously act as the credits, you know? Sometimes it doesn't work. So yeah, like this whole trend, it really is getting annoying, and nowadays we're just gonna see sequels do it, and once those sequels are gonna be done, I'm sure this whole trend is gonna be done and over with, so let's just hope for the best that this trend will pretty much be done, or at least learn how to improve it. Just, you know, do it right at the very least. Hey guys, this is Animat. I just want to remind you guys that this is just a little taste of what you can get with the Animation Podcast. This is not all of it. If you guys want to go and listen to the full episodes of the Animation Podcast, then allow me to show you some of the different ways that you can go. First off, you can actually go on the website that it is hosted on, Filmbook, so you can go directly onto there. You can also go and check out the official Filmbook Podcast YouTube page, so at least you don't have to go away from YouTube and you can listen to the podcast right there. But if you would like to listen on the go, like if you want to listen it to on your phone or on your iPad and all that kind of stuff, then you can listen to it on either iTunes or you can listen to it on Android. So those are all the different options, and if you'd like to have more info, then all you have to do is just check in the description down below. And with all that said, I just want to say thank you guys so much for listening, and until next time, see you later, dudes!